All right, time to get this epic drawing done. I have really high hopes for this one. Here we go.
1 minute later.
I gave up. Oh, hi. If you're anything like me, you've probably had the recurring thought that you could totally be a better artist if only you could just practice more. But why is finding motivation so hard sometimes? Because some artists, I'm sure you know a few, draw all the time. Is there a trick to staying motivated? Well, yes. I'm Marc. I've been a professional artist since I wasn't, and now I teach art for a living. And in this week's YouTube Art School episode, we're going to go over some simple science-backed tips to stay motivated. Because if you can keep your motivation, you're gonna get ahead. You're gonna get better faster. Oh heck. Quickly, let's get this class started. Alright, class is in session. Pay attention. Also, pay the class fee of either 1 like or 1 sub, and I'll pay you back in extra motivation. Motivation is always flaky, like your friends, but that's only if you're not applying the 5 life-changing motivation tips that we're about to go over. They're simple, but I'll still bet you're not doing most of them. Meanwhile, I'll let this time lapse of some recent drawings play in the background in case you're not motivated to learn something new. At least you'll have something fun to watch. Okay, the first tip to stay motivated is one that took me a long time to figure out, even though now I've come to find out many studies have been conducted to demonstrate its effect. Don't rely on external rewards to fuel your motivation. There are 2 types of rewards we respond to: external and internal. An external reward, for example, might be getting likes on Instagram. It might be to impress your crush. It might be to make money. An internal reward, on the other hand, is much more simple. It's the love of doing something itself. You don't draw for the Instagram likes, you draw because you enjoy drawing. You draw because it feels good to get better at it, to be able to do things that you couldn't do before. See the difference? The issue with external rewards is that they get us addicted like a bunch of junkies. All the studies show the same thing. When you reward someone for something they did, when you give them an external reward, they'll usually want to keep doing the thing for the external reward. If you take the external reward away, they stop doing the thing. They lose motivation right away. It's hard not to get addicted to external rewards since it's everywhere. If you're too young, you probably won't understand that yet, but while it might feel good short term, like a junkie getting high, long term, you're ruining yourself. Bye-bye long-term motivation. For that reason, always keep a bunch of drawings or paintings private. It took me a long time to stop being addicted to likes, and the trick that I found that works best is to keep a lot of your art private. Never intend to show it. Do it for you only. Nowadays, about half of the art that I produce, I'll never show, and the internal reward that I get creating it has been a massive boost to my motivation. Something that I used to struggle with a lot just a few years ago. Now for the next tip, I'll need to introduce something called the Zeigarnik effect. It's the tendency that incomplete tasks have to occupy our mind far more than completed tasks. Very strange. It's an interesting effect because it basically highlights how important it is to just get started at something. If you're planning a big drawing and you're thinking this is going to be your best one yet, it's gonna be epic, bro, with lots of characters, backgrounds, and effects, stop right there. If the challenge is too great, the odds that you'll lose motivation along the way are sky high. I always recommend to my students to reduce the scope of their projects, reduce it so much that it gets to something you might be able to complete in a couple of minutes only. I heard of this effect a long time ago, but the example was different. It was about flossing. Like, don't ever plan to floss all your teeth. Always plan to floss 1 tooth. Our brain just has a real hard time dealing with incomplete tasks, so as long as you get started, you'll usually just floss the other teeth while you're at it. You already got started, so might as well. Just commit to flossing 1 though. This trick works with flossing and it works for art just as well. Start with a quick study, like a quick 1 or 2 minute gesture drawing study maybe. That's what I do almost every day now. Do that and you're way more likely to keep drawing while you're at it. Because once you're in it, moving on to something more elaborate is much more motivating. It's just a lot easier to get ourselves to do that. Just get started with something small. Now, if part of your motivation problem is that you don't know what to study, you don't know how to get better, maybe I have the thing just for you, a complete art education program from home. I built it over many years with the goal to fully replace traditional art school programs at a fraction of the cost. For subscribers only, check the coupon in the video description for a big discount valid until the end of the month. The price for the art school program will be increasing next month as I work on additional content, so don't miss out while it's cheaper. Now back to the tips. The third motivation tip is to surround yourself with the right people. There are those who will support your art and encourage your efforts, and those who won't. Hang with those who do. If you're too uncomfortable talking to others directly, this doesn't even need to be in person. It can be online friends, online acquaintances on like a Discord server you hang in. Heck, even just participating in a challenge that involves a bunch of people, even if you're not directly interacting with them, will do the trick. A good example is the Learn to Draw in 30-day challenge that I started last week. The video has been pretty popular and thousands of you have been participating. Check it out in the top right corner of the screen if you haven't already. You can start it whenever. The buzz around it is contagious and it just does wonders for your motivation. And the same goes for most challenges or competitions where artists are engaged. Everyone is working towards the same goal, and even though we might not be physically close, the feeling of community is enough to boost motivation. Surround yourself with the right people. Having the wrong people around in your life can really steer the ship in the wrong direction and crush your motivation. Careful. Now the fourth tip, and we're almost done already. Understand there are two different approaches to art. Maintain a balance between the two. A lot of art students don't realize this, but generally speaking, you'll either do art for fun, following a creative process, or you'll do art for personal growth, following a learning process. The creative process is usually fun, more relaxing. You can be distracted and it doesn't really require too much focus. It's all about applying creatively the theory that you've learned. The learning process, on the other hand, requires focus, deliberate efforts to study, and it triggers the stress system in our brain. It hurts to learn new things. We don't wanna. Students often run into the issue of doing too much study as you're trying to get better, and it can be easy to forget to have fun. Make sure you balance fun with studies as you practice art, or you'll burn out. One thing I often recommend to my own students is to mix both by starting with a few studies with the goal of taking one of them and turning them into something more, something creative. You could start with a few character gesture drawings and turn your favorite one into a cool character, like a character design. It's a great way to trick yourself into working on studies and learning something new in the process. Don't study too much or you'll burn out, and don't draw without ever studying, otherwise you'll plateau. In both cases, your motivation goes down the drain. The key is balance. Finally, the last tip is something you can start doing right away. Something that's helped me be a lot more productive and motivated every day. Write a quick list of your daily goals every morning, just like 5 to 10 things that you want to accomplish that day. Writing it down acts as starting the task. Going back to the second tip that I mentioned, we're far more likely to get to it and complete it when it's written down. It can be just a note on your phone or an actual whiteboard where you get to physically cross out the task you complete. This is something apparently very common among business CEOs who have very busy schedules and a lot of things to get done every day. And now that I do it too, it makes perfect sense. Take 2 to 3 minutes every morning to write it down. Do it for just like a week and see the difference. It's night and day. It's made a huge difference in my life. It can be just a couple things you're going to study that day, an idea for a drawing you want to do. Just make sure it's nothing too elaborate. Plan small things to give yourself the best chance at getting it done. Let me know how it goes. And that's gonna wrap it up for this week's class. Motivation can easily be influenced positively or negatively. Be careful and follow these tips. Hope you liked the drawings too. These were pretty fun. If you liked the brush that I used, by the way, you can download it for free in a video description. It's my favorite brush, so go get it if you haven't already. And hit the bell to be on time for next week's class, and I'll see you then for another YouTube Art School episode. I gave up.